Have you ever chased the horizon? No matter how far you walk, no matter how far you go, it always seems just out of reach. That is what the impossible feels like. Distant, untouchable, forever ahead of us. Now, when I say the word impossible, what exactly comes to mind? Is it a mountain too high to climb? Or is it an exam with far too much to study for? Or is it a record too hard to break? That is the thing about the impossible. It means different things to each and every one of us. And naturally, some seem more mundane than others. To begin challenging the impossible, you must first define what the impossible actually is. And that seems like a bit of a daunting task, doesn't it? So, let us begin by establishing a few very basic facts. Fact number 1. Whatever the impossible means is different for every single one of us. For Nelson Mandela, in his 27 years in prison, ending apartheid in South Africa seemed impossible. For a child holding onto the bicycle handles, begging his father not to let go, balancing for 5 seconds feels impossible. For an immigrant leaving home, rebuilding his life in a new country he knows nothing about, that feels impossible. For someone grieving, simply getting out of bed to continue living, that feels impossible. For someone continuously failing math, simply passing an exam feels like scaling Mount Everest. For me, at least, at one point in time, the impossible was public speaking. Now, I realize that puts me in a bit of a contradictory position, but allow me to take you on this journey. Let me set the stage for you. Picture a warm summer morning in a bustling city. I'm running around backstage trying to make sure every single thing was in place. It was the school science fair after all, an incredibly important event on the school calendar. And my favorite teacher, she comes up to me and she tells me, "Bismi, we need you to deliver the welcome address. It's only 2 minutes and I would have told you sooner, but I know you would have found some way to evade it." I was flabbergasted, gobsmacked, bamboozled. I felt anger, despair, and a whole array of other ugly emotions. That was until she said the words, "I believe in you." She was smart, she was brilliant, she was perfect. She was everything I ever wanted to be. And if someone like her could place her faith in me, then perhaps, just perhaps, a little faith wouldn't hurt me too much. So there I stood, backstage, my palms sweaty, my heart throbbing out of my chest, waiting for my name to be called out, waiting to deliver my very first speech. And I spoke quite well, at least so much so that they thought it would be right to allow me to sit on stage with the chief guest and the other dignitaries. That 1 hour was magic. That 1 hour was perfect. I felt as though I'd hopscotched through dimensions and landed into the body of a clone who was surprisingly good at public speaking. But no, this was me. This was real. And that day was very important. Not because I delivered the perfect speech, it was far from it, but because it taught me that the impossible, whatever it means, it is only the limit that we have never tested. And that brings me to fact number 2. Whatever the impossible means, it is defined merely by mental, social, and physical limitations. For centuries, the idea of humans flying was preposterous. If you wanted to cross the Atlantic, you packed food and supplies for weeks, months, and you got on a boat. And today, we complain about airplane Wi-Fi. For centuries together, the only way to communicate with a friend on another continent was to sit down, write a letter, and wait months for a reply. And today, we get frustrated when a text doesn't deliver within 2 seconds. Let us consider medicine, smallpox, once called an unavoidable curse, a deadly disease that killed millions indiscriminately. And yet, in 1980, the World Health Organization declared it eradicated, wiped off the face of the earth. And that brings me to fact number 3. Whatever the impossible constitutes, remember that it has an expiration date. It shifts, it bends, it breaks. Yesterday's impossible is today's reality, and today's impossible is just tomorrow's headline. That horizon that you're chasing, remember that it moves, it shifts, and what is unfathomable today is just the ground that we will stand on tomorrow. Now, we've established a few facts about the impossible, and I hope that we've all come to the same conclusion. To even attempt to define such a dynamic and complex concept that shifts between time and people is incredibly futile. The next logical step, therefore, is to examine what exactly is impossible in today's day and age. Let us talk about dopamine addiction. Picture this. You've woken up in the morning, you've cursed your alarm, and you've reached for your phone. Maybe you've doom scrolled for a couple of hours. Maybe you've missed your school bus. Maybe you've missed your commute to work. This is not just a bad habit. This is your brain being pulled by invisible strings. And every like, every swipe, every comment, every notification that you receive is a tiny pull on these invisible strings. Our brain releases a hormone called dopamine, and we are literally hardwired to keep chasing this high, to keep chasing this wave of pleasure. This is why tasks that once felt easy, like finishing a chapter of a book, finishing an assignment, or even having a conversation with a friend in real life, today feels boring or frustrating. You know that gnawing feeling in the back of your head that tells you, maybe I was smarter before the pandemic hit. Maybe my attention span was longer before the lockdown happened. That is not just a fleeting thought. That is a scientifically proven fact. Our attention spans are deteriorating, and the culprit is short-form content. And the new horizon that all of us are chasing right now is getting over that insatiable urge to keep doom scrolling. Now, all of this should frighten you, not because you lose hours, but because you lose moments that should have been memories that made you realize what this life is actually about. The hug of a loved one that should have sent shivers down your spine now barely even registers. The laughter of friends that should have lit you up now feels like nothing. That is what is being taken from you. That is what is being stolen from you. Not time, but meaning. The beauty of the world, it's still out there. Our brains are just too overstimulated to see it. At this point, I would like to pose a question to all of you. How many of you have ever used ChatGPT or any other generative AI model for that matter? My guess is that nearly every single one of you would say yes. Tasks that once took days, weeks, can now be accomplished within mere seconds with the tapping of a few keys and the clicking of a few buttons. But the problem here, it's not just intellectual, because every AI query, every text generated requires computing power that consumes electricity. And every prompt you give it nearly increases this carbon footprint. Now, I realize it would be foolish of me to expect that this little speech of mine is going to make anyone reconsider the next time they resort to ChatGPT to finish up what seems like a meaningless task. After all, if climate statistics had the power to change anyone's minds, the melting icebergs would not be a problem right now. So, what is the solution to all of this? It is not running away from these problems. It is by remembering. It is by choosing to find meaning in those things our overstimulated brains deem too small. So, read that book without summaries. Solve that problem without Googling it first. And write that essay without ChatGPT. Not because these tools are evil, but because sometimes that struggle itself is the reward. The impossible, it lives on in our everyday lives. It exists when we choose distraction over presence, comfort over courage, and numbness over feeling. But it is in these moments that you can choose to rise, that you can choose to fight back. And when you find the will to make these changes, you realize what you were put on this earth truly to do. And you find the courage to take charge, rewrite your own stories, and challenge the impossible. Thank you.